Over here we come into the depth of the sugya, and that's the sugya in Siman Kuf Tzadik Hey. In Kuf Tzadik Hey, in Yoredea, the Bet Yosef brings down a machloket Rambam and Ramban. And the machloket is the isur of lo tikrevu legalot erva. It says in the Torah lo tikrevu legalot erva. And we have over here two opinions what this pasuk means. According to the Rambam, the pasuk means that you should not touch a woman. Touching a woman, that's called tikrevu, come close legalot erva. It doesn't mean that you megale erva, just come close to it. That's already davar asur. Lo tikrevu legalot erva. The isur of lo tikrevu legalot erva is isur deoraita. It's a lav deoraita. It's not like being with erva. With erva, that's isur karetz, isur chamur. That's already one of the worst isurim, because she's erva, she's bechiyuv karetz, she's bechiyuv mitat bedin. So that is only when a person is together with the erva. But just touching the erva, that is called lo tikrevu legalot erva. That's a lav deoraita. This is how the Rambam learns. The Ramban argues on the Rambam, and the Ramban says that the isur of lo tikrevu legalot erva is not talking about touching, rather the act itself, the maaseh itself. That is what it's talking about, and therefore you have over here a isur that says don't be with a woman that's a erva to you. That's what it means. What about touching a woman? Says the Ramban, that's a isur de Rabbanan. It's not a isur de Oraita. Okay, so now that we know these two opinions, what's the halacha? Says the Bet Yosef the following: כתב בתרומת הדשן בשם גדול אחד, שאישה נידה חולה ובעלה רופא. You have a doctor, and his wife is right now not clean. So, his wife should go to a regular doctor, or can her husband take care of her? She's right now erva to him, because she's not clean. Should he be able to take care of her or not? Says the תרומת הדשן, אסור למשש לה הדופק. He can't check her heartbeat or do any other thing.
Can't?
No, it's asur. She has to go to the doctor. He's not allowed to touch her. נראה מדבריו שאפילו כשאין רופא זולתו, אסור. Says the Bet Yosef that over here you see that even if there's no other doctor, it's asur. וגם בתשובות להרמב"ן, אסר לבעל למשש דופק אשתו נידה. The Ramban also says like this: you're not allowed to check heartbeat or do any other thing if it's also with touching the woman. ואף על פי שלשון השאלה היה שאין שם רופאים אחרים אלא בעלה ניחא לה משום שמזומן תדיר, נראה דלמאן דאסר לא שני לה אם יש רופאים אחרים לאינו. That's what it is. The Ramban says it's asur for a doctor to check his wife. ומיהו? Unless, says the Ramban, there's an exception. אם החולי מסוכן, if there's פיקוח נפש. She's dying, she has fever, 105, you don't have a chance to take her to the hospital in this kind of fever. You have to take care of her, you have to check, you have to give her medicine. Whatever it is, you become hatzala, it becomes an emergency. So then, it's allowed. מיהו אם החולי מסוכן ואין שם רופאים? משמע קצת מדבריו דשארי משום פיקוח נפש. Says the Bet Yosef, but let's see, who's saying those words? Those are the words of the Ramban. Don't forget, the Ramban says, when he touches his wife when she's not clean, he's violating only Isur de Rabbanan. So therefore could be that the only reason he permitted it because it's only Isur de Rabbanan. So he says, משמע קצת מדבריו דשארי משום פיקוח נפש אלא דאיכא למימר דלטעמי הזיל דסבר נגיעת נידה אינה אסורה אלא מדרבנן. ואילו לרמב"ם ערווה אסורה מן התורה, אף על פי שיש בה פיקוח נפש, אפשר שאסור משום שעה ואביזרה דגילוי עריות, יוצר חיון. Comes out the Bet Yosef over here with an unbelievable chidush. She says that according to the Rambam that we mentioned before, that touching ערווה is asur. So even in a case of pikuach nefesh, the woman's dying, could be that it will come out that he's not allowed to save her. He's not allowed to save her because touching her is under avizarayu de gilui arayot. And one of the three things that is yareg ve'al yavor, that's gilui arayot. And touching is close to gilui arayot. It's not the act itself, but it's close to it. It's called avizarayu de gilui arayot. It will be asur. So if you ask the Bet Yosef, are you allowed to take care of your wife when she's sick? He would tell you no, absolutely not. Even with pikuach nefesh, actually ends up with tzarich iyun. Tzarich iyun. Tzarich iyun. The Bet Shmuel in Even HaEzer, Siman Kaf, brings this halacha lemaaseh. He says it's asur. Even makom pikuach nefesh asur. So according to that, the question would be, what do you do in pikuach nefesh, and what do you do as a doctor if married women come to you? Most women are erva, right? Why? Because either they're married, or if they're not married, they didn't go to the mikveh, so they're considered erva. So how could you take care of them? So over here we have a shach that saves the day. And the shach says the following. The shach says, he brings this Bet Yosef, and he says, En nira. He argues on the Bet Yosef, and says, Devadai af la Rambam leika isur deoraita, ela b'sheoseken derech ta'ava v'chibat biyah. The only time it's asur, says the shach, is only if the touching is touching of derech biyah v'chibat biyah. Derech ta'ava v'chibat biyah, which means a person that does it for affection. A touching of affection is asur according to the Rambam. But if you're a doctor, and you're taking care of the patient, that's not derech ta'ava v'chibat biyah. You're not doing it with affection. You're taking care of your job. Be'umnutei avid. So therefore, that kind of thing would be mutar. This is the shach. And this is how we're going to be posek la'alacha. Otherwise, says the shach, if you're not going to say that, מה שאין כן אחא, וכן המנהג פשוט, שרופאים ישראלים ממששים הדופק של אישה. You see, the doctors, you have Jewish doctors, they're taking care of ladies that are married, אפילו אשת איש, עובד כוכבים, אף על פי שיש שם רופאים אחרים. There's other doctors also. So the Jewish doctors should not be able to take care of women, but we see they do. So therefore, according to that, says the shach, the reason is because it's not done b'derech te'ava. What about the Ramban? The Ramban, we said, would allow, right? This comes out that according to the Rambam, it's mutar, the shach says, because it's not derech te'ava. The Ramban would say it's mutar because it's only isur derabanan when it's a very, very great need. Right? So it comes out, says Chacham Ovadia. You take a look and you dwell into the sugya, you'll see that what? Shaking a hand of a woman would be mutar? According to the Rambam, touching a hand of a woman, we said over here, could be mamash asur. It's isur under the violation of lo tikrevu legalot erva. Although you might say, you know what? It's not a touch of affection. The Ben Ish Chai told us that it is. And this is how the poskim bring down. Ramoshe Feinstein brings like this. You know that the Chazon Ish held it's Yareg V'Bal Yavo, shaking hand of a woman. Yareg V'Bal Yavo, Steinberg brings it down. I saw a call koreh from Rav Shach when he was alive that said that it's Yareg V'Bal Yavo. Why? As the Ben Ish Chai told us over here, because it's derech chiba. It's not only just respect, it's more than that, because touching could be more than just respect. So Chacham Ovadia brings this sugya, and he says that according to the Bet Shmuel we mentioned before, and according to the way the Bet Yosef learns, it's definitely asur, no question asked, because they hold even pikuach nefesh is asur. But if you're going to bring the shach le'alacha le'maaseh, which we have to rely on the ma'aseh, that's what we rely on, the shach that learned the way he said it, that there's a chiluk between derech chiba and not derech chiba. Says Chacham Ovadia, that is only true when we're dealing with doctors. Doctors is a great need, right? The question is always, can a woman go to a man doctor? Can a man go to a woman's doctor? So in Eretz Yisrael, they're much more machmir than in America. But even in America, the answer would be always, it depends. If the man doctor is much better than the woman's doctor, you're allowed. If there's no woman doctor, or let's say the insurance doesn't pay for it, so you get the bill, okay, fine. But if you have more or less the same level doctor, you can go to a woman's doctor, why should you go to a man doctor? Or the opposite, right? That comes out over here. Very, very important thing, says Chacham Ovadia. That touching a woman, letting her kiss your hand, is not the same category of a doctor. Putting your hand on top of a woman that you should give her a bracha, that's not the same category as a doctor. And therefore such a thing definitely should be asur. Definitely should be asur. This is how Chacham Ovadia brings down. Now, he's not the only one. Again, many poskim bring such a thing down. So that would be nafka mina, for instance. A very common thing that women ask, They want to go to manicure, pedicure, and there's a good man that knows how to do it correctly. So over here, let's say the man can do it 1,000 times better than the woman. You go to the woman, she doesn't do it so well. They have experience. But this man already has a monitin that is unbelievable. Right? So should she go to the man doctor? What's the answer? Or not doctor, the man manicure? What's the answer?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Very good. Very good. Why? It's not a doctor. You go to a barber. You walk in, there's a man doctor. Or for a man, there's a woman barber, right? Not allowed. Not allowed. That's mamash asur. Not allowed. There's no tzad to be matir such a thing whatsoever.
Not really touching you,
Touching the hair is considered you as well, and not only the hair, but Chachamim say also the clothing. You're not allowed, it's asur to touch a woman's clothing. Therefore, touching the hair is much more than clothing. That's the person itself. But such a thing definitely should be asur. So according to what we're saying, stretching the hand, lekol hashitot that we learned over here would definitely be something you're not allowed.
So what do you do in that situation?
So what do you do in such a situation? You come in, you're in the end of a business deal, and she stretches her hand. What do? Chacham Ovadia was in much worse situation. You know what he was? They gave him the prize. There's a prize that they give in Israel, a very elevated prize, and he was the one getting the prize from the president back then, who was prime minister back then. That was Golda Meir. And when they ended, you can see this in the Yalkut Yosef, when they handed the prize to Chacham Ovadia, he had to shake hands with everybody that were there. Golda Meir was there. She stretched the hand. Chacham Ovadia didn't give her his hand. He stayed like this. And then the Nasi, that he had to shake his hand right after that, Chacham Ovadia came to shake his hand, so he wanted to retaliate. He was he was angry that he didn't shake Golda Meir's hand. So Chacham Ovadia's hand stayed like this. Chacham Ovadia didn't care. He said it was a big Kiddush Hashem, because you're not allowed to shake the hand of a woman. Also, Mordechai Eliyahu, when the Queen of England, he met with the Queen of England. Also, she brought out her hand, and he kept his hands at the place. And then, in the end, they gave him an apology. They said that we have in our writings that you don't shake a rabbi's hand, because that's their religion. You have to respect it. So he got an apology for that as well. So the mindset should be over here the following, and this could be in men and women. Many times a woman is in a business deal and somebody gives her the hand, and she's also she freezes. She doesn't know what to do. So some people come up with all kind of kunsim like this. One person holds 2 sfarim, another one says, "Oh, I'm not feeling well." Another one sprays some oil on his hands. All kind of different things. But the truth is, you don't need to go around the bush. You tell them, listen, according to my religion, I'm not allowed to touch anybody else but my wife. And also, a woman could say, I'm not allowed to touch anybody else but my husband. That's simple as that. A person understands that. Now, maybe it will be a little bit uncomfortable, but people understand that. They say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. My religion doesn't allow me. I respect you very much, and I would shake your hand, but my religion doesn't allow me touching anybody. That's something that people understand. If you start going around, oh, I can't, I'm holding this, I'm holding that, it doesn't look good. It sounds like you're trying to get away from the scenario. So a person should be straightforward in that, in my opinion. But it's more than that. Imagine that somebody would come, or this woman that stretched her hands to you would say, you know what? Instead of stretching the hand, she says, you know what? I like the deal that we made, and therefore I want to give you, I want to invite you. I made a beautiful hamburger. I made a delicious hamburger, a cheeseburger in my house, a mini. I want you to eat it. Chavod, say bracha. Now, what would you say? It's uncomfortable, it's not nice, it's embarrassing. If I'm not going to eat it, she's going to be embarrassed. Over here, you're definitely going to say no, right? You'll definitely reject the offer. Why? Because you understand, it's asur. So for the same token, this is asur, same thing. And it's worse, because this is not Yarek V'Bal Yavor. And over here, they're telling you that it's Yarek V'Bal Yavor. Not everybody agrees that it's Yarek V'Bal Yavor. Moshe says, it's more leaning towards being asur. So you see, he didn't use such harsh words. Ben Ish Chai over here also used such words. He said that ודאי ירא שמיים צריך שייזהר לבלתי יעשה זאת. He didn't say harshly, it's mamash asur. But such a thing, a person should definitely avoid. That should be the approach. Many times a person is in the bus and the subway, and it's very crowded. It's very crowded. So you happen to touch, right, with the arm, with the elbow, in the back. You touch all kind of ladies by mistake. Is that mutar? Or maybe you should wait till the rush hour is over and then take the subway or the bus. What's the halacha? And then you'll be late for work.
Then you'll be late for home.
What's the halacha? Ramosha Feinstein says you don't have to worry about it. It's mutar. You both walk into the subway, you walk into the bus, and it happen to be that it's snug over there and people are touching each other by mistake. Therefore, such a thing is not a problem. What's the understanding? He uses the same logic we explained right now. That since you're not doing it negiah shel chiba, it's not doing for affection. And Shach told us over here that the only time the Rambam says it's asur, it's negiah shel chiba. What the Bet Shmuel that says it's asur regardless? Bet Shmuel says that the Ramban brings the Rambam that it's asur even when it's a negiah shelo shel chiba. But that's the Bet Shmuel Shita that he argues on the Shach. He says it's asur regardless. And that is the Rambam Shita. It's a machloket how to learn the Rambam. Is the Rambam the Rambam is osir only negiah shel chiba or also negiah shelo shel chiba? Becomes that nafkamina for many things. We're saying it's shaking hands. It's going to the barber. It's going to manicure. It's going to doctors, dentists. Right?
Yes,
dentist also maybe goes out to a doctor. That if you have a dentist, that's much better. That's for medical purposes. That's fine. But in a bus or many other scenarios, you sit in a bus and it's like you sit in the train or in the bus. There's no place to put your hand. So many times it just touches, right? Such a thing should be mutar. Says Moshe, it's mutar. It's mutar. Moshe even mechadesh much more than that. He says that even with one's wife, when he can't touch her, and normally he says that the scenario hardly ever comes because you have to go far away. But let's say you can't. Let's say you're in a plane. That's the seat they gave you. That's it. Now it's like impossible to keep all the time like very far because it's very close. And many times by mistake. Obviously we're talking by mistake. It's asur to touch by purpose. So there says Rav Moshe, she's erva right now. But since we're saying over here that negiah, that not shel chiba, not negiah shel ta'ava, would be permitted, such a thing also would be permitted. Chavot, questions?
So the Bet Shmuel's his opinion is if your wife is dying.
Unbelievable. And it's not only the Bet Shmuel. I'm telling you, the Bet Yosef. The Bet Yosef says that over here. Averot chamurot. So he says it is because one of them is Gilui Arayot, and this is called Avizarai hu de Gilui Arayot, which means anything that's close to the Gilui Arayot itself, it's also considered like Gilui Arayot.
So in the pregnancy room, your wife's screaming, "Give me a hand!" You're not supposed to.
Well,
and the doctor's like, "How dare you? I'm standing over there in the back of it."
We're talking about even your kids. So if your kid, your daughter.
No. So everybody agrees that the daughter is fine, and the reason, if you take a look, it says in the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch in Even Ezer also brings such a thing down that your daughter and your mother, it's mutar. And we saw over here that it's also, Chacham Ovadia even said that it's machmir, but he says, רק לבנותיו ונכדותיו מותר לתת להם לנשק את ידו. Why? You might say, why? She's also not allowed. Because over here it's completely like somebody that's completely off the line of somebody that you might.
So your sister.
Sister is
So
more.
can-
Sister,
so can
the
I-
lashon of the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch is if you kiss your sister, it's dvar isur u'maaseh tipshim. Maaseh tipshim v'dvar isur. That's what the Shulchan Aruch is posek. And the Rambam. Now, some want to say, and your aunt, and so on. That's what the Shulchan Aruch brings down. Now, some want to say, I think I saw in the Bach, that it's not mamash dvar isur, but it's close to dvar isur. But those people you should stay away from. And your daughter, your granddaughter, and your mother, and your grandmother is fine.
No, I'm talking about the Bet Shmuel's opinion. The Bet Yosef.
Even the Bet Shmuel. This is Halakha and Shulchan Aruch. So he does
So
agree with it. The Bet Shmuel only holds in a place that it could come to, although we said the chiluk that if it's not for affection, it should be according to the Bet Shmuel asur, but it's only women that are asur to you. And the Isur is a Isur that could bring to affection. But a daughter, a granddaughter, it's not such a relationship, and therefore that would be mutar. And they would agree, the Shulchan Aruch agrees, the Ben Shchai brings like this, the Chacham Ovadia brings like this, so those things will be mutar. These are big chidushim, right? Unbelievable chidushim.
So, if I'm just going to tell it to my wife that I'm allowed to help my mother and my sister and not her, she's going to die.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com. You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you